I want to do a lengthy sort of review on the Animal Plastics T100. I have 3 sockets here. It holds humidity pretty well. Unfortunately, these are kind of flimsy plastic. I went to Lowe's and I got metal ones. I put it under it to kind of stabilize it on something harder. Maybe this unit isn't for you. Hey guys, how's it going? A little over a year ago, we went ahead and we moved my Tegu into his adult enclosure, the Animal Plastics T100. I did a video on that and that turned out to be my best video on the channel. So today I want to do a lengthy sort of review on the Animal Plastics T100, using it as a Tegu enclosure and so forth. So let's get to it, but a couple quick reminders before we do. A quick thank you to Herb M and David T for supporting the channel on Patreon. That will be in the top right if you haven't checked it out already. There's a lot of cool rewards on there, behind the scenes content, Ask Professor Herp inbox, a digital painting of your reptile. Make sure to check it out. Make sure to check out the merch as well. I'm wearing my Salads for Chumps t-shirt inspired by the lovely Max, my bearded dragon. That will be in the top right as well. Lastly, make sure to follow the Herp Hour on Twitch. We will be talking to Neptune the Chameleon this Saturday, which will be tomorrow, about chameleon stuff. So that should be very fun. I'd appreciate your follow over there. How we're going to go about this review is we'll start from the outside of the enclosure and we'll just talk about some stuff there. And then we'll work our way inside. I'll talk about any problems I had. And what you really need to know about Animal Plastics enclosures, specifically the T100. So let's get to it. So this is the T100 from afar. It is 8 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet. I have 2 sockets in there, a little bit of customization, but overall pretty standard. After this review, if you're interested in getting my specific customizations, just tell Animal Plastics the name John Armando, and they will bring up my order and tell you the specifics I gave them. But this is what it looks like overall, and how I kind of fit it into my house. Let's take a look at the top of the enclosure first. I just want to show off how it looks in terms of what they put in for sockets. So I have 3 sockets here. All of them are basking bulbs. 2 are pretty close right here. And these can be pretty customizable, I believe, in terms of the distance between them and such. I have a 3rd one that's kind of way out there. That is also a basking bulb. But it has a different gradient and stuff like that. But I put in 3 here. I don't think you need 3. I think you can keep just 2. Whatever you want to do, I believe it's pretty customizable. But this is what it looks like in terms of the sockets up top. And they have nice indentations into the lid where the wires run so they don't stick out. I do want to say that if you look back here, obviously in probably most of your units, you're going to have UVB. What I did for this, since they don't recommend sealing the top with a sealant, I just run the wires sort of out the crack between the back panel and the top panel. And that's what this is right here. So it just runs squeezed in between the 2. It really doesn't affect the humidity level in there. But that is something unique, I guess, to this unit, is that how you go about running wires out for UVB, since those are not part of the sockets built into the unit. Before talking about the actual glass themselves, I do want to point out the moisture buildup on the inside of the glass. It holds humidity pretty well if you design the substrate and the inside of the enclosure correctly for high humidity lizards and reptiles. I believe the humidity in there is 93% right now. I don't think it holds it as well as a Grow tent. I don't have hands-on Grow tent experience, but from what I hear, I think it's a little bit more finicky. You have to do a little bit more, I guess, than a Grow tent. But let's get to the actual windows themselves. Real quick, I just want to mention that I have swinging doors for this unit. I don't know anybody who doesn't do swinging doors for this unit. I believe they do offer sliding doors for this. I'm not sure how they implement that, but I do want to just say that real quick. Now, this is an accessory to the unit. It doesn't come with the standard package. You can get a locking mechanism with it, and they do send you 4 keys, 2 key rings, which is really nice of them. It works pretty well. Just put it in there and then turn it. And then it opens, and this is after a little over a year of use. So that's really cool, and it works really well, especially if you have kids and such. Now, they also come with turn buttons on the windows. They just go and lock it in better because it's so big, which is a nice feature. Unfortunately, these are kind of flimsy plastic. They will hold without any pressure pretty well, but especially on the lower corners if we want to go down here. I went to Lowe's and I got metal ones because Frap, my Tegu back there, was putting so much pressure on the lower portions of the windows in terms of hitting it and stuff, that the plastic ones were breaking. So if you have like a monitor too, like especially, I'm sure that's going to be a lot more rowdy, and they're pushing on the glass, these are probably not going to hold that well. And I do recommend going to Lowe's and getting some metal ones or something and putting those in there so they're a little bit more steady and in place. Lastly, on the outside, I do want to mention that they have vents. These really don't let out a ton of humidity if you don't want it to. It really just depends on how you design the inside of the enclosure, humidity-wise. But these are nice. There's kind of two per pair. So right here, there's one, and then on the back over here is another. And then along the back there's 4 more, and then on the other corner, there's the same replicated 2 pair on that other corner there. So you got about 8 vents in total. I'm sure they do well, but they don't let out a ton of moisture. One actually final thing I want to mention about the outside, it's not really about the closure itself, but when this ships, it comes in large panels. And I believe they use this yellow one down here to kind of help stabilize it in shipping. But what I did, especially since I'm on a softer surface with carpet, is I put it under it to kind of stabilize it on something harder. It's the same length as sort of one panel of the unit, so it fits great. But I would recommend doing this, especially if you're on carpet, and maybe even hardwood. I mean, the sealant holds pretty well, but if any moisture got out or anything, it would go on this before your nice flooring. So that's what I use this for, and I would recommend it. Okay, so let's go inside the enclosure. We go and unlock it and just swing it open. And now we're inside. Most of the stuff I'm going to talk about the inside is going to be up top. You could see the fixtures, the sockets on the inside up there. I have a bunch of halogen floodlights in there. Those are the 3 though. And then I have some UVB, which we'll talk about in a second. And I'm not sure if you can see, but back there is the inside of the vents up top. It's kind of hard to see, but right there you can probably see it a little bit. So that's what that looks like on the inside. And then we got lovely Frappuccino's booty right there. One thing I do want to mention about the inside is you can see I have some support here since it's such a long enclosure, especially if you're putting things on top of it. There's this nice support beam in the middle. I'm not sure if this comes with the standard unit. You might have to ask for it in terms of customization. I don't think it would totally collapse without that there, but I definitely think this helps. So this is a customizable piece right here. It's just another kind of chunky piece of plastic coming from the roof. They put a little slot in the lid there, and then I stick that in there and screw it in. But I got this for UVB, and this is how they kind of do UVB with this unit. The problem, though, of why this doesn't work too well is, number one, it runs vertical instead of horizontal, and usually with UVB, you want to run horizontal. Real quick, this is on the other side of the enclosure as well, but we're just going to look at it over here since that's way far away. So I do have 2 of these. The other thing, too, is it's still really high up. I mean, I do have this nice basking platform here that acts as a hide and stuff to kind of get them in range of this one. But if you don't have anything to get them up within, you know, if you're doing even a 14%, you want to at least get kind of close to 15 inches, you know, you're going to really have to raise up the bottom a lot. So this is kind of problematic. Really, I don't honestly recommend it at this point. There's just, it could be better done. So that's kind of why I did something different with the UVB, so it got closer to him, and over there, this is dropped down more instead of being really high up like with one of these. So that I really wouldn't recommend as a customizable feature. Maybe they have different ways to go about it that you can ask for, but what I did specifically here, I don't think works too well. I do want to mention that the sealant they give you, it does come with a sealant. Works pretty well so far, especially in such a high humidity kind of environment. That water bowl over there, I actually dump out into the substrate whenever it gets kind of dirty, just to add moisture, and that's quite a lot in there. I've never seen any moisture seep out of this thing underneath. In terms of sealing, you seal it pretty much all the way except for the lid, maybe halfway up the sides. From my experience, it holds pretty well, and the sealant they give you is nice, and it works well with the unit. So I definitely recommend it in terms of that. You're not going to get much leakage. Obviously, with any enclosure, there's going to be some cleaning and such, but especially with the black design, your walls are going to get kind of dirty. The windows are going to get kind of dirty. They just don't look dirty right now because I did some cleaning. Your windows are going to get scratched up, especially if you have some, you know, large reptile with some good lengthy nails, which you probably will in this enclosure. So you're going to take some hits there on that. I don't really clean the walls off too much here, as you can see, because it just gets really dirty right away. But that is maybe if you're looking for kind of appearance and appeal and stuff like that, a downside for you. But I'm okay with it, but it does get pretty dirty pretty quickly. I do want to mention too that in high humidity environments that you're doing with this enclosure, moisture will build up on the wall like you see over there. I just want to mention that because if you're like me, I have sort of a temperature humidity gauge on the wall there that's put up by something kind of sticky. That falls so much because the moisture on the wall just kind of messes with the stickiness, and then I find it on the ground. I got to find a better way to do that, but I do just want to give you guys a heads up that water droplets will form all over the inside of this enclosure, especially overnight. So that is something, if you're trying to put something on the wall, you might want to think about. One last thing I do want to warn you guys about, and I'm sure this would happen with any enclosure, is that if you need to get to the back especially, it's kind of difficult to get in there. I've had a couple times actually climb in the enclosure to do something in the back or a hard-reaching corner. So it is kind of hard to get inside of, especially since the window is not as large as the actual vertical length of the unit. So you do kind of have to fit into the window and stuff. It can be kind of difficult to get into. So I just want to warn you guys, if you have any back problems or anything, maybe this unit isn't for you. Finish up this review, I do just want to mention a couple things about the assembly process. You're going to need more than one person. With their smaller units, it's probably more manageable, but there's this really funny last step where you have to take this completely upside down enclosure and flip it back upright, and with how big this unit is, you really can't do it yourself. It's rather difficult, so I definitely recommend having more than one person. Additionally, you're probably going to have to go pick this thing up. It is shipped freight, which means you're probably going to have to meet up with a truck driver who won't go far off the highway, and you're going to have to fit an 8x4 foot sheet of PVC in your car. So make sure you can do that. You bring a car that can do that, because I barely fit it in my car. I was not anticipating that, but I do think that's of note. Overall, I really still like this unit. Yes, I think it's more expensive than it should be, but all the problems I have with it are very minor and things that I asked for customized wise. So if I was to go ahead and do this again, I'd probably do things a little differently, and I think it would pan out more so that way. The major problem I have with the actual unit itself is definitely these turn buttons. I think they could be maybe metal or something a little less flimsy. Otherwise, I think everything else isn't really the actual unit's fault. So I definitely do recommend this if you're looking for a nice appealing look of an enclosure and you're willing to spend that extra money. You're willing to deal with the shipping and the building, all that good stuff. And the one cool thing about this that really is the reason I got this overall is that you could disassemble it, move it, and then reassemble it somewhere else. Which is what I really want since I won't be in this house for the rest of my life. So that is a cool feature. Alright guys, I hope this review was helpful. I've had a lot of experience with this, a lot of time, so I thought it would be nice to follow up with my best video with a review of this unit after some time. I know there wasn't a lot of reptiles in here, but I thought this would help you guys out. Anyway guys, make sure to follow me on social media, make sure to check out the Patreon, check out merch, that's all in the description, not the top right now. And check out us on Twitch, we'll be streaming tomorrow with Neptune the Chameleon. See you guys.